Welcome back to Rare Coin Legacy, the channel where ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary stories, hidden fortunes, and unbelievable discoveries. And today you are about to dive into one of the most shocking and controversial topics in modern numismatics, the legendary 1995 D1 cent coin that has stunned collectors, ignited endless debates, and reached a mind-bending valuation of up to $9 million due to a perfect storm of mint errors, production mistakes, rare circumstances, and collector obsession. Because at first glance, the 1995 D-penny looks completely ordinary, something millions of people handled, spent, or ignored without a second thought. Yet beneath that familiar surface lies a world of mistakes so dramatic and so rare that a tiny number of these coins have become some of the most valuable modern cents ever discussed. And to understand how this is even possible, we must first understand that coin value is not determined by face value or age alone, but by rarity created at the moment of minting, by errors that were never supposed to exist, and by survival against all odds. And the year 1995 was a critical period for penny production in the United States, with enormous demand for 1-cent coins pushing mint facilities to operate at high speed, often around the clock, placing extreme stress on dies, presses, planchets, and quality control systems. And history shows that when speed increases and pressure mounts, mistakes multiply, and some of those mistakes are so severe that they escape detection and quietly enter circulation, becoming accidental treasures waiting to be discovered decades later. And the Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark on the 1995 D-cent, was one of the busiest facilities at the time, striking massive quantities of pennies using copper-plated zinc planchets. And within this flood of production, a microscopic number of catastrophic errors occurred, errors that were not just minor flaws but fundamental breakdowns in the minting process. And one of the most powerful value drivers behind the $9 million valuation is the existence of extreme double die varieties associated with 1995, particularly those with dramatic and unmistakable doubling visible on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, and especially the date show bold separation rather than subtle machine doubling. And these double dies are created during the die manufacturing process when the hub impresses the design into the die multiple times at slightly different angles, permanently embedding the mistake into the die itself, meaning every coin struck by that die carries the same dramatic error. And when such a die escapes detection and produces even a small batch of coins, those coins instantly become elite collectibles. And the more dramatic the doubling, the higher the demand, especially when combined with a mint mark like D, which adds another layer of specificity and rarity. And collectors are willing to pay staggering sums for the cleanest, boldest examples because they represent a moment when the minting process failed in a way that cannot be replicated intentionally. And then there are off-metal errors, some of the most visually shocking and valuable mistakes imaginable, where a 1995 D-penny was accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, such as a dime blank, a foreign coin blank, or even an experimental or leftover metal strip, resulting in a coin with the wrong weight, thickness, color, and sound. And these off-metal strikes require multiple failures to occur at once: the wrong blank entering the press striking it without issue, quality control missing it, and the coin escaping into circulation. And when such an error is authenticated, especially for a modern date, its value can skyrocket into 7 figures due to its extreme rarity and shock value. And even more fascinating are transitional metal errors, because although pennies in 1995 were officially struck on copper-plated zinc, there is strong evidence that leftover bronze planchets from earlier years or experimental compositions occasionally found their way into production, creating pennies with incorrect metal content. And when metallurgical testing confirms such an anomaly, collectors recognize that they are holding a coin that should not exist, a relic of a transition period where old and new systems overlapped imperfectly. And when such a metal error is paired with another mistake, such as a double die or off-center strike, the value does not simply add, it multiplies, pushing the coin into legendary territory. And speaking of off-center strikes, the 1995 D1 cent has produced some of the most dramatic misalignments known, with designs shifted so far that large portions of the coin are blank, yet the full date and mint mark remain visible, which is crucial because a missing date kills value, but a visible date on an extreme off-center strike transforms the mistake into a highly desirable showpiece. And collectors love these coins because they visually tell the story of chaos on the minting floor, showing exactly how far things can go wrong while still producing a legally issued coin. And then there are broad strikes, caused when the retaining collar fails and the coin expands outward during striking, creating a stretched, distorted appearance with weak or missing rims. And while minor broad strikes are fairly common, Extreme examples from 1995. D with massive diameter expansion and strong design details can command serious premiums, especially when preserved in high-grade condition, and condition is everything in numismatics, because even the rarest error loses power if it is heavily worn, scratched, or damaged, while a near-perfect example can dominate auctions and headlines. And another category of errors that fuels million-dollar discussions is mule coins, where mismatched dies are paired together, creating impossible combinations that should never exist under normal minting protocols, such as a 1995 D obverse paired with a reverse from a different year or design type. And when such a coin surfaces and is authenticated, it becomes an instant sensation, because mule errors represent a fundamental breakdown in die management procedures, and the fewer known examples, the higher the value climbs, sometimes reaching levels that seem absurd for a penny, yet are fully justified by rarity and collector demand, and strike through. Errors also play a major role in high-end valuations, particularly when foreign objects like grease, fabric, metal shards, or wire become trapped between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving dramatic voids, distortions, or missing design elements. And while minor strike-throughs are common, extreme examples that obscure large portions of the coin while leaving key identifiers intact become highly collectible, especially when the object responsible can be identified or inferred, turning the coin into a forensic snapshot of the minting process. And rotated die errors add another layer of intrigue, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by extreme degrees, sometimes approaching 180 degrees, creating coins that look twisted and unnatural. And while rotation alone may not reach million-dollar levels, when combined with other rare errors and pristine condition, it becomes part of the perfect storm that pushes valuations into the stratosphere. And all of this is amplified by collector psychology, because modern-era error coins like the 1995 D1 cent challenge the assumption that only old coins can be valuable, proving that rarity is created by mistakes, not time. And this realization has driven explosive interest as more people search their change, open old rolls, and re-examine inherited collections, hoping to uncover a hidden fortune. And the role of professional authentication and grading cannot be overstated, because a raw coin, no matter how spectacular, cannot reach its full potential without expert verification. And when a 1995 D error cent is certified with a high grade and detailed error attribution, it gains legitimacy, market confidence, and investor interest, which attracts elite collectors willing to pay astronomical sums for a guaranteed rarity. And the $9 million figure often cited represents the theoretical peak for the most extraordinary example imaginable, a coin with a unique or nearly unique combination of dramatic errors, flawless preservation, documented provenance, and intense bidding competition. And history has shown time and again that such scenarios are not fantasy, as numismatic auctions have repeatedly shattered expectations when the right coin meets the right moment. And survival rates play a critical role as well, because many error coins are unknowingly spent, damaged, or destroyed, meaning the true population is often far smaller than estimated. And as years pass, surviving examples become even rarer, driving prices higher as collectors compete for diminishing supply, and media attention and viral stories further fuel demand. Because when headlines scream about a penny worth millions, it captures the public imagination, floods the hobby with new participants, and increases competition for similar coins, even if only a handful truly deserve such prices. And this phenomenon alone can elevate values across the board, particularly for high-profile dates like 1995, which people recognize and remember, making the hunt feel personal and achievable.